define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks,
African Institution of Broadcasting, the SABC in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, in the Republic of South Africa, with sport and music from an African perspective. We are live on DSTV Audio Bouquet, channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are based in South Africa. Alternatively, you can connect with us from anywhere in the world on channelafrica.co.za, also available on SABC Plus. My name is Neto Chemane. Hosiati konyangazi mamkhatsha phandle kunjani moyani voko dendele. Africa at Play, as Deleli Siashaya. Thank you for tuning in. What's coming up on Africa at Play? We will get to hear from Banyana coach Desiree Ellis reflecting to the reigning champions' quarter-final victory against Senegal last night. We will also, on our topic of the day, get to hear a conversation between our Lusaka-based correspondent Namuchana, who's speaking to the former Football Association of Zambia president Simata on the importance of introducing children to sports at an early age. We will also speak to the Confederation of African Athletics, that is CAA President Hamad Kalkaba, on the Under-18, Under-20 Youth Championships that are concluding today at the capital of Ogun State. That's found out from Coach Desiree Ellis.
We've been practicing penalties and we knew who our kickers were going to be. That's why we made the changes that we made as well. We always knew that Andile can save one or two. We always knew. She's done it before. By the way, this is our first penalty shootout win at WAFCON. We lost in 2006, we lost in 2018 in the final. So this is our first win. But I said the game was going to be tough. I said the game was going to be hard.
Also coming up is the former Football Association of Zambia president Simata on our topic of the day, the importance of introducing children to sports at an early age.
For these under-age groups, I'd say under 17 going downwards, right up to under 6, we have allowed for a creation of a parallel league under the name community. Here's my point. Why is an under 7, under 8, 13, under 12 child not in school? Every school, the thousands of them in Zambia, for instance, is where we should have under 7, under 9, under 10, under 11 from the school system, not community.
The Confederation of African Athletics President Hamad Malboum Kalkaba also will be part of the conversation later today.
First of all, apart from the sports event proper, we are still going to host the Congress, the CAA Congress and the CAA executives. And that already, they have almost finished with the venues and all that, wherever the hotels that they're going to stay, all confirmed. The hotels are ready for them.
14:03 Central African Time. It is a big Sunday of sport. Yesterday we witnessed the Junior Box, the Under-20, beating New Zealand at the Under-20 World Championships by 23-15. And if you missed out on action in football in the Zimbabwean Premier Soccer League, the only league that is running on the African continent, that kicks off in January versus other leagues that kicks off in August. Triangle United played to a 1-1 draw against Ngezi. Chicken Inn beat Kariba by a narrow 1-0 win. Caps United and Telwan played to a dull 0-0 draw. Manica Diamonds went down by a 1-0 against Herentials. Simbabora, the reigning champions, managed a 1-0 victory against Dynamos. And MWOS and FC Platinum having a good day in the office, winning that match by 2-0. Kwekwe United went down by a 1-0 against Yada. And there's a fixture happening today at 1500 Central African Time. Scotland Highlanders are up against Scotland are up against Highlanders at 1500 Central African Time. There's more football action coming up on Tuesday as the Women's Africa Cup of Nations is coming closer to its end. On Tuesday is the semi-finals where we will see South Africa up against Nigeria at 1800 Central African Time. And later that evening at 2100, it will be Morocco, the host nation, up against Ghana. And the two matches will decide who makes it to the final of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, Morocco 2024. It's called 2024 because initially it was scheduled to take place last year, but due to the Olympic football tournament that was happening at the Paris Olympics, the event was since moved to 2025, yet the name still remains 2024. We take a short break. When we come back, All Things Africa at Play continues.
9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatam.
Should influencers be expected to be impactful in society? If there is a social or societal conversation that goes up, should we be waiting eagerly to hear what the influencers have to say?
They are more than just entertainers. They are thought leaders to some certain degree. They influence culture, they influence people's thought processes, they set trends, they shape opinions of people. And the sad reality is, although a lot of them don't want to accept it, I think we're getting better with them realizing that embarking in that journey and in that space comes with a certain level of responsibility.
I see it differently in that, professionals are already good at their job, but there is an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Africa at Play with Neto and Neto Chemane.
15:07 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are together until 5 p.m. Central African Time. Please do get in touch with us on our different social media platforms. On Instagram and X is at Channel Africa 1, and on Facebook, the name of our station, Channel Africa. Should you miss out on any of our conversations, worry not. Please do make time to visit our Channel Africa website. Click on Programs and search for Africa at Play. At the bottom right screen of Africa at Play, you will be able to access those conversations by clicking on More. Our UK-based sport correspondent, the Encyclopedia of Global Athletics, Gesham Sajinyati, originally from Zimbabwe but based in the United Kingdom, is in London at the Olympic Stadium witnessing the Diamond League, which has been underway. Let's find out what he has in store for us.
It was considered as a clash of the titans in the men's 100 meters at the Novuno London Diamond League meeting held yesterday at the Olympic Stadium in front of a capacity crowd. The stadium was sold out with about 60,000 spectators ready to watch top-class action in different track and field events. In the men's 100 meters, South Africa's Akani Sibine, an Olympic 4x100 meters relays silver medalist, world indoor bronze medalist in the 60-meter race, and current Diamond League race leader, lined up alongside two big names, the Olympic 100 meters champion Noah Lyles of the USA and 200 meters Olympic champion Letsile Tebogo of Botswana. All eyes were on the so-called the Big Three, but athletics, as always, has a twist in store all the time. Out of nowhere, Jamaica's Oblique Seville tore the form book with a dramatic victory, stopping the clock in a sizzling 9.86 seconds. A new name perhaps, but a performance worth of the headlines. Early in the day and before the start of the race, Adele Roots, wearing distinct South African colours, was all out in favour for Simbine to win. But she mentioned Tebogo and Lyles to be strong athletes.
Yes, so we live in Essex, England, and we are here to support Akane Simbine for the 100-meter men's, and we cannot wait to see him.
Do you think he has got a chance of winning today?
Oh, I think definitely he's got a chance. There's some tough competition for him, but he definitely got a chance to win.
And who else are you supporting? Because there is another top athlete who is competing with Simbine from Botswana, Letsile Tebogo.
Tebogo, yes. Anyone, and I just generally like athletics and support everyone, but yeah, Tebogo I think also has got a big chance to win, but they're up against Noah Lyles, so we're not sure.
Okay.
Simbine held his own, finishing 5th position and still maintained his top spot in the Diamond League standings, following his earlier 2 straight victories in China and Morocco. Noah Lyles powered through for 2nd, with Britain's Janelle Hughes finishing 3rd. Tebogo, after a slow start out of the blocks, had to settle for 7th. After the race, Simbine was composed and focused. He said, "It's about consistency and building up towards the Diamond League final and the World Championships in Tokyo." This wasn't his night for the podium, but the South African sprint champion remains in the hunt and very much a contender for global glory at the upcoming World Championships.
What is on schedule for you as an individual now, and also as for the South African relay team, which won an Olympic medal? You did extremely well. So what is next for you? What is really in mind for you?
For me, it's just to make sure that I'm getting race fit and race sharp and getting back to the legs moving. You know, we've been in a very big block of training right now for like 7 weeks, and now we're coming out with it. So, hey, we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season, but looking forward to it, and looking forward to camps in September.
And obviously, when we go to the World Championships, you will also take part in the relays. Can you say something about the relays? Because you seem to have a strong team now.
Yeah, we have good individuals. You know, we have good numbers to make up the relay teams, and I'm looking forward to being up with the guys and running a relay again, and just doing great for South Africa.
And as far as the Diamond League is concerned, you are the top athlete at the moment, and you're close to winning the jackpot prize.
Not really. You have to run the Diamond League final to win the jackpot prize. But being on top, we've done 4 Diamond Leagues, 3 wins, and then this one was just a terrible one. But I know I'm guaranteed the final, and I'm happy about that. And now it's just to focus on, getting the legs moving and getting race sharp again.
So if you get the Diamond League trophy, that will be the first one for you.
If I get the Diamond League trophy in August, it'll be the first one for me, but I'm looking forward to that as well.
So far, you are the senior athletes in the South African side. 31 years old, most of them, they are still upcoming. What words of encouragement can you say?
Hey man, to never give up, but just keep on going, and it's a tough sport to be in, but to always just keep giving your best and being the best that you can, and always showing up.
I actually wish you the best at the World Championships. I know last time it was tough for you, that disqualification, but we still have hope in you. You are not in your running twilight, you still have a bright future.
Thank you very much. Yeah, man. I'm very much looking forward to a longer journey in this career, in the sport, and just keep on pushing.
14:14 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome. That was Keshom Sejinyati, our legendary correspondent based in the United Kingdom, having conversations with the athletes that are representing the African continent very well at the Diamond League. And before we welcome him for a conversation, let's bring you updated when it comes to the ongoing World Championship under Women Basketball Tournament. Czech Republic will be taking on Brazil under 19 19 at 1500 Central African Time. At 11:30 earlier today, Portugal and Hungary. Portugal won that match by 74-58, and France under 19 also triumphed against Japan under 19 18-14, and China under 19 and Nigeria under 19. China having a good day on the court, winning that match by 96-71, and Israel under 19 also went down by 78-86 against South Korea. Spain under 19 and Canada under 19 will also meet each other at 1700 Central African Time. Another match still coming up is USA up against Australia at 2000 Central African Time. Then in Asia, at the Asia Women Cup playoffs at 10:30, we saw South Korea going down to China by 66 for 101, and Australia and Japan. Australia won by 54-14. Let's now welcome to Africa at Play, Gershom Sejinyati. Seji, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
No, I'm perfect, my friend. I'm fine.
Yeah, let's talk about the Diamond League in London. Seji, what have you witnessed? You must be an exhilarated man to see that African athletes never disappoint.
Yeah, it was a big competition, really. Across all the disciplines, highly competitive. You know, the athletes are really working hard to shape up for the upcoming World Athletics Championships, which will be held in Tokyo, Japan. And if we can talk of the men's 100 meters, which was like the headline event, it was really, really, really exciting. And as we have said earlier on, that the big three, the people were considered to dominate was likely to be the Olympic champion Noah Lyles of USA and Akani Simbine, who is actually the diamond race leader at the moment, and Teboko Letsile of Botswana, who is the 200 Olympic champion. But that did not happen. There was a newcomer, Oblique Seville of Jamaica, who actually took the spoils. He won the race comfortably indeed, and that is casting, doubt as to whether the so-called top sprinters will do well at the World Athletics Championships. But still, this African athletes, they are remaining focused, as Akani Simbine has said. He is really working for it. He's going to the world champs to represent his country. He has a chance, because what happens with events like the 100 meters is just too technical. Once you make a minor mistake, you are gone. So if he gets it right, he's got a chance.
Gershom Sejinyati, our correspondent based in the United Kingdom, originally from Zimbabwe, reflecting to the Diamond League, one of the big events when talking athletics globally. Seji, when talking about the arrival of the sprinter from Jamaica, Oblique Seville, are we likely to see the likes of his legend, being seen in his performances? Because these upcoming athletes are always inspired by someone, and Usain Bolt has done it before, Oblique Seville. Are you seeing a scenario where he's looking up to Usain?
Yes, maybe he's getting there. It's not him alone. There's another upcoming athlete from Jamaica, Akeem Black. He's equally good, and I'm sure they're all trying to follow the tracks of the great Usain Bolt. But it's not going to be easy. It's very, very difficult, because we've got lots and lots of sprinters all over the world coming up. But it is exciting. He has actually added a fresh breath of air in the 100 meters, because now you can hardly tell who is likely to win. It's become very difficult, really.
The world of athletics will never run short of talent, Seji, because as we speak at the capital of Ogun State in Nigeria, Abeokuta, it is the conclusion of the Africa Under-18, Under-20 Youth Championships concluding today. And already I've witnessed that the short distance runners from Kenya have done very well. And it goes to show the big secret of the East Africans, which also goes to show that all these different countries from different parts of the African continent will be the elite athletes in no time, because when you are under 18, you are good to go for the upcoming Olympics in Los Angeles 2028.
Yes, that is true. Like, as an example, at this Diamond League meeting in London, we had Fanuel Koskai, or Coach Koech of Kenya, winning the men's 1500 meters with a new meeting record, 3 minutes 28.82 seconds. Very good time, beating Josh Kerr from the UK, who actually won a World Championship gold medal in 2023 in Budapest. And also from Kenya, he is invisible. Emmanuel Wanyonyi won his 800-meter race in a very good time, also a meeting record, 1 minute 42.00 seconds. Quite exceptional. So those are some of the upcoming athletes. And Ethiopia had a new person again in the 5,000 meters. That's women's event. Medina Asa winning the race in 14 minutes 30.57 seconds. And second place was also a runner from Ethiopia, and also fairly new. So what you're talking about, the junior competition, which has just concluded in Nigeria, is quite a good omen for the development of up-and-coming athletes. We really salute that. It's a good thing, and we wish them the best. But, as they go forward, they will need support from their federations and the private sector so that, they do well and make good progress.
14:21 Central African Time. We are talking to our UK-based correspondent, Gesham Sajinyati. Saji, please do stay on the line. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation by finding out what else is coming up in the world of athletics.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Africa at Play with Neto and Neto Chemane.
14:22 Central African Time. You are still listening to Africa at Play on Channel Africa from an African perspective. We are wrapping up a conversation with our UK-based correspondent, Gesham Sajinyati. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. Saji, what's still coming up in the calendar of athletics?
Yeah, up next is 3 events in the Diamond League series in Brussels and Zurich. And I think in Switzerland they'll have 2 events. So all 3 events left now to conclude the season. And obviously, after the Diamond League series, that will be in August, then the athletes will then go to the World Championships. But apart from that, there are some other events which they call continental tour events, where you will find the top athletes from the African continent getting invited to compete there. And sometimes it does happen that towards the World Championships, some of the athletes will take a low profile, not being inactive as such, but going into hiding. Training camps, they'll be training very hard. I think this is a ploy where they try to avoid, ill health, injuries and the like. They really want to make sure that they are 100% fit for the World Championships. So that is what is happening. It's actually a crucial time for the big athletes competing in the international circuit and major events. That is what is going to be happening just after August and September, and just before the start of the World Championships. Yeah, so that is the state of affairs at the moment. Action still continues.
Kasham Sajinyati, our correspondent based in the United Kingdom. Saji, thank you so much for fueling us up with the latest about the Diamond League and athletics in general.
Thank you.
14:24 Central African Time. If you are a fan of the game of cricket, there's action happening between Bangladesh and Pakistan, and there's also Zimbabwe up against South Africa, and you can also catch the T20 International for Women, where Ireland women are up against Zimbabwe women, and that match kicks off at 1700 Central African Time. Tamvela Mama Mukomba, this is Africa at Time. Africa at Play. Enjoy every moment.
Africa at Play, beautifully, happily marrying sports and music. The world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business.
When listening to the legends in music, and the late Oliver Mtukudzi is one of them, he was saying Wasakara. If you have just joined us, thank you and welcome to Africa at Play. Let's now go to Lusaka, Zambia, where our correspondent is having a conversation on our topic of the day, where we are talking about the importance of introducing children to sports at a tender age. You can drop us your thoughts on our number +27 63 406 9126, talking about the importance. Why is it important? What are the advantages of introducing kids to sport at an early age? This is Africa at Play. Asteleli Siashaya.
Children can typically be introduced to organized sports around the age of 6, with a focus of developing basic skills and having fun rather than intense competition. We are asking, what are the advantages of introducing children to sports at an early age? I have with me Mr. Simata, former Football Association of Zambia president. Mr. Simata, thank you so much for having taken time to talk to Channel Africa. Mr. Simata, we are asking, what are the advantages of introducing children to sports at an early age?
The background to children being organized in sport at the age of 6 has many reasons why we have not yet got into that sector very, very seriously. If you look at the under national teams, I'll stick with soccer. When years ago we just had the national team, and the football associations would only look after the national team, and that national team was male or men. Zambia was one of the few countries that even had a B side and a C side. In fact, the Nigerians, when they first came to Zambia and we played against them, and I think beat them, was it 5-1? They went back to try and understand Zambia, and they found that we had 3 national teams. At that time, we could actually field 1 team in the Africa Cup, 1 team in the World Cup, 1 team in the regional Sekafa region. We had A, B, and C. Otherwise, there was just 1 team. And then the Olympics came along, the same team would be used that you played in the national team. It's until after 1988 or past that we even had the under 23 with a few older players allowed. Finally, it started to under 23. Then after that, the under 20s started coming up, the under 17s started coming up, are you with me, at national level. That was not followed through to the ground. We began to subsist and to work with under 17, under 20, Olympic, and the main team without growing the roots. And we got used to it. In there came age cheating, but we got used to it. After that, the Chan became the Africa Cup of local players. So we now had the under 17, under 20, under 23, Chan, and the men. But basically, it was still one national team. And therefore, there was no need, there was no emphasis, there was no heart to go out there and say, why don't we grow our players at the age of 5, at the age of 6, and let them come? We could just pick any player we felt was needed for under 17, ensure he gets a new passport, ensure he gets a new registration card, ensure his age is cut. I mean, I met a player who was once a captain for the under 17. His young brother in his family was already playing for me at 25. And then later when I had a chat with him, he said he was 27. So I told him, I asked him, what are you doing at 17? He said, well, I was just helping them. And that is where the linkage is. And I must say that we have actually continued with that pattern and getting away with murder. Okay, then MRI, whatever it's called, came into play, but we still find ways in which to evade it. You know, you pick two players, one the old age and one the younger. The younger one goes inside, is measured, his bone is correct, but in the name of the older one, things like that. We have survived in what we are doing because there are all these other things you could do to avoid under 6, under 7, under 12. It is until about 1991 or 2. In fact, at the inauguration of late President Mandela, I was a delegation leader from Zambia, chairman of president now of the Football Association. When the curtain raiser was played and I was sitting with my late fellow president, Sticks Morewa, and I said to him, Sticks, what are these kids doing on the pitch? He says, yes, that's our curtain raiser. The team on our left is the Gauteng under, was it 12? I can't remember. But the team on the right playing against them is the national team under 12. I said, what? You've already started? He says, yes. And that team went on to produce some very good players. That was not norm in Africa, particularly in my country. Under 12, under 14, no, because there were faster ways of getting the under 17 done, under 20 done, under 23, Chan, where there's no age limit, but you have to be local. So when in Africa, we begin to appreciate that talent must be identified early and then nurtured, that will go a long way. Right now, it's a society thing. You know, we have tremendous wild fruits, very nice, natural. They are not GMOs. But have you heard of anyone trying to research on how to grow masuku, for instance? That's a local wild fruit that comes out around December or in the rainy season, so that it can be grown on a farm, for instance, 10,000 hectares of masuku, because from it they can derive many other things. Or even the fruit they get amarula from. Here in Africa, they are wild. Elephants just go out and eat them. Monkeys go out there and eat them. Because there's no need. That pressure to say these things, we can grow them, is not there. So that's what we are in the situation right now. Some FAs have started correcting it. I think Morocco, for me, is a very good example. In 92, they fielded an almost under 20 team in the Africa Cup. They drew 3 games, but they were knocked out. The same team beat Zambia in 94 to the World Cup. And since then, they've been building that base. And here we are. If we get chosen to play Morocco, we start having some rumbles in our stomachs. We need to get to that. We need to grow our athletes. I'll give another example. I am at the 2003 All Africa Games in Nigeria as part of the Zambian national team that qualified. I was the assistant to Peter Kaumba. And at the airport, 2 very big planes, maybe 737s or whatever they were, South African Airways, landed one after the other. And out came kids. I mean, I kept looking, I said, are those spectators or what they come for? So when they had finally disembarked, they must have had hundreds of athletes there. I managed to have a chat with one of the coaches or officials and I said, why did you bring kids? I said, that's the future. From the All Africa Games, they've flown, their minds begin to look ahead. They will go to the Commonwealth. From the Commonwealth, they will go to the Olympics. From the Olympics to the World Championships. It's a whole net. We've just thrown it out there. I said, what? Wow. We were an entourage of 50 people, including 2 cyclists, 3 weightlifters. The football team had been reduced drastically to accommodate officials and things like that. Our was almost dropped the night before. It's until the coach said, no, I can't go there and coach alone. What if I even force it? We have to be the 2 of us. And he insisted I travel. That's Africa. That's Africa for you. It's a surprise to see kids. And it was for me. And that's only 2003, which is, 22 years ago. I just wonder where those kids ended up, but I'm sure they brought honors to South Africa. So, friends, it's supposed to be normal. Just like it is normal to have grade 1 pupils, grade 2 pupils, grade 3 pupils, grade 4 pupils. In fact, when we encourage that, we will kill age cheating immediately. Because even the kids will be able to say, no, but I didn't see you in grade 1. Where are you coming from? If that child is a late maturer, they'll be easy to identify. That's the way it's supposed to be, especially now. I'm amazed we're still talking about under 15. Too late. We should be talking about under 4 because we already got under 15, under 13, under 11, under 9, under 7. That's what we should be talking about. And these are at district level, you have an under 7. At provincial level, you have under 7. At national team level, you have under 7. So they are even graduating, moving up. It's a system. It is not haphazard. It is not lucky chance. You are not tossing coins and say, okay, you even plan and say, this team is the one that is playing World Cup 2040 or whatever, so something like that. No, we are not serious. Now, unfortunately for us, what has happened that in the old days, like it is just even in the society now, you don't find these wild fruits very easy because either we cut the trees and turn them into charcoal, or because of population increase, those trees no longer are there. To get that fruit, you have to go deep in the bush. Same thing has happened to our sport. To get very good, you really, really have to look. Otherwise, it's these same ones who are taking us nowhere, and a few of them working very hard will qualify us to the Africa Cup, to the World Cup, or things like that, and we think we're doing well. But once they leave the stage, we start all over again, and then start blaming each other, holding each other to the throat, sadly. For these under age groups, I would say under 17 going downwards, right up to under 6, we have allowed for a creation of a parallel league under the name community. Here's my point. Why is an under 7, under 8, 13, under 12 child not in school? Every school, the thousands of them in Zambia, for instance, is where we should have under 7, under 9, under 10, under 11 from the school system, not community. How? What is a child who's under 15 doing outside school? So then the schools will be forced to give scholarships to those children to start schooling at their school. And by the way, that's the way it used to be in the 70s. When we started calling these footballers schoolboy international, there is a side we do not want to tell. And that was, these were adults who were incorporated into the school system and they became schoolboy international, most of them. Or you got a player who repeated grade 7 times. When I was in grade 1, I found him in grade 7 and we passed together at secondary. And even in secondary, it was a kind of scholarship they gave him. As long as we want to believe that there are children who are not in school, in the communities, and yet the schools are not even full to capacity, we are going to continue with this problem. So it's the school system we need to strengthen. FAs must work with the school system unless the education ministries and the likes don't want to work with the FAs. That will be a different matter, which we should, behind closed doors, sort out. Lastly, I have always proposed a system where the so-called unders are not kept permanent. Under 17, every year under 17, every year under 17. No. In an even year, like next year, 2026, this year is an odd year. In an odd year, we use odd numbers. 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23. When the year changes to even, we drop down. So what was 7 this year, next year becomes 6, 8, 10. You will clear age cheating very quickly. Because if, say, for some reason I qualified a child as under 11 this year, it's an odd year. Imagine that child playing next year under 10. That exposes the child immediately. The child will have to move to under 12. And by the way, these same problems I've outlined over the unders have come to the women's side. The women were non-existent in our time. They've come and crept in at the top. These teams have come at the branches. They've climbed the tree from the branches. We used to do that as kids sometimes. There's no trunk. There are no roots. So very soon what we will start having is that all these players who we've managed to get right to the top, who are giving glory to us, we are excited about the way they are playing, will soon fade because of age. But there's nobody behind them. So we will still go into the bush and start looking for the wild fruit. Now even harder. And we've commercialized the wild fruits, so we even go down in the bush and bring them down before they are ready and ripe.
Mr. Simata, thank you so much for having taken time to talk to Channel Africa. The views of Mr. Simata, former Football Association of Zambia president, on our topic today. Children can typically be introduced to organized sports around the age of 6, with a focus on developing basic skills and having fun rather than intense competition. We were asking what are the advantages of introducing children to sports at an early age. For Channel Africa Sports, Namchana from Zambia.
14:49 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. We take a short break. When we come back, we've got some voice notes on our topic of the day, talking about the advantages of introducing children to sports at an early age.
The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Young couples or young people that are getting married, we often hear of divorces, that they're getting divorced, and it's quite worrying because when we attend these weddings, we want to see these people flourish and celebrate 30-year anniversaries. What do you think is the main challenge that is facing newlyweds?
We say that tell me how you were raised and I'll tell you how you're loved. So when we see people getting married, that's not where the relationship actually starts. The relationship starts with how you were raised, what you were familiar with, because we are attracted to what we are familiar with. If you don't have a background where love was prominent, where love was authentic, it's going to be very difficult for you to manufacture that in later life. So our upbringing has something to do with it.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege. Africa at Play with Neto and Neto Chemane.
15:51 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play. We are live on DSTV Audio Bouquet Channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you're here in South Africa. If not, worry not, you can connect with us from anywhere in the world on channelafrica.co.za. Also available on SABC+. We've got voice notes on our topic of the day. Should you also wish to share your thoughts, the number is +27 63 406 9126. Let's take one from Nande Jobodwana.
Good afternoon. Introducing children to sports at an early age, very advantage. It's a big advantage. It's a big advantage. And it also gives them an edge. One, it creates some sort of discipline. It creates a routine for them at an early age. I mentioned discipline. And there's something called muscle memory. By the time the kids grow up and actually want to compete, for the Springboks, for Ibanyana, for provincial, their body is already regulated to that high intense performance. And even in terms of practice and gymming, by the time they get older, the body is already used to that intense training. So it's very advantageous for kids to start at an early age, even the things that they learn from sport, again, as I say, in terms of discipline and routine, they can take those things and they can use them in their personal lives. They can use them in their outside life, they can use it for their careers, for their school. You want to study to be a doctor and you understand, it's intense to be a doctor, there are long hours. So it's the same thing with sports. Their body gets regulated at an early age. So now you don't have to force them to get up and those type of things. And in actual fact, you find that when kids start at an early age, they actually enjoy getting out, besides the health benefits, they actually enjoy going out. They actually enjoy picking up a ball, kicking a ball, whether it's a tennis racket, cricket bat, whatever it is, you find that they become very active. And if you have an active body, you're going to have an active mind. It's highly, highly, highly advantage. It's a big advantage and I highly recommend it. Thank you.
14:53 Central African Time. That was Nande Jobadwana sharing his thoughts on our topic of the day, where we are talking about the importance of introducing children to sports at an early age. What are the advantages? You can also share your thoughts. +2763 406 9126. Let's take another voice note from Tabalitziri.
Hi Neto, how are you, my brother? It's Tito here. Look, it's very, very important and it's key to start child development at an early age to deal mostly with the basic skill development at that age of 6, because they need to be at the mastery level by the time they reach 15. It can happen before 15. That's why you go to Europe. Most players hit the professional level 16-year-old, 17-year-old, even under. We've seen and witnessed Yamin Yamal of recent. So in South Africa, we struggle a lot, even currently in the PSL, with basic football skill. That is non-existent. So it's key for one to develop this skill at an early age, so that the tactical adaptation of professional teams is easy to them, to can grasp and go and flourish in their careers.
That's Tabalitziri Safa, under 17 strength and conditioning coach. Let's take another voice note from Neto Chemane.
Good day, Africa at Play listeners. My name is Neto Chemane. By introducing children to sport at an early age, parents can set them up for a lifetime of physical development, social skills, emotional intelligence, confidence, self-esteem, discipline, time management, fun, and enjoyment. Because most importantly, sports can be a source of joy and fun for children, helping them promote a very lifelong love for physical activity. Hi, Putwam, Shaya Isho Yak. What a great show, Neto. You truly have a different style of just putting it out there. Keep up the good work, my brother. Asiteleli Siashaya. What a great show.
Thank you to Neto Chemane as Deleli Siashaya. 14:55 Central African Time. Let's take another voice note from Tsepang Lisiba from the west of Johannesburg in Kagiso.
Tsepang here from Kagiso. I think maybe the best thing is to introduce them at a younger age without competition, because in most cases where there's competition, parents will be at the forefront, trying to use their kids maybe to fix the mistakes that they did, and then they will be competitive, not the children. So I think when they just play, enjoy, and then they will pick up also themselves, or even coaches, that no, this one they've got talent, this one is not their sports, and so on. And then along the way, the kid can maybe change from soccer. You find that they can have pace, but you realize that no, their ball handling is not good. They can move to athletics, or they can move to rugby, or so on. But recently, it's that already when a child starts loving sports, most of the parents, they see it as an investment, that, if my kid can go professional, I will make it a point that I get out of poverty or those things. So they will just push the kid. The kid will not be normal, will not have time to play with other kids. Week in, week out, kids will be going to competitions, start not enjoying life, missing life. And hence, most of the kids, when they leave home, they go professional, they mess up their careers, because in most cases, it's also anger in many things that, what, actually, I don't even love this sport. I'm just doing it for my parents. So introducing them without competition as part maybe of their curriculum and so on at schools, it can also help.
14:57 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. We've got one more voice note from Puminkosi.
Good afternoon, Africa at Play. I feel introducing children to sports early builds more than just strong bodies. It builds confidence, discipline, and social skills. They learn teamwork, how to win humbly and gracefully. Plus, it helps keep them active and away from screens. At this young age, it's about fun, friendships, foundations, and also having a positive attitude towards winning and losing.
14:58 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are wrapping up the first hour of the show where we got to talk about our topic of the day, where we were zooming into the importance of introducing children to sports at a tender age, looking at the advantages thanks to all those that have shared their thoughts via WhatsApp or voice notes. And we also got to speak to Kesham Sajinyati, our encyclopedia of global athletics, our correspondent based in the United Kingdom, reflecting to the Diamond League that took place at the Olympic Stadium in London. It is now 14:59. We will be having a conversation in the second hour with our teenager in sport, that is Mthunzi Msibi, who is a talented and dedicated young hockey player with a passion to represent South Africa and GP High School for boys on the international stage. So we will be having that conversation to find out about his journey. We will also be talking to the president of South African Rugby Union, Mark Alexander, to congratulate the Under-20 Rugby national team for beating New Zealand at the World Under-20 Rugby Championship, where they've triumphed by 23-15. And we will also get to speak to the president of the Confederation of African Athletics, Hamad Kalkaba, to conclude the Under-18, Under-20 Athletics Youth Championships taking place at the capital of Ogun State in Abeokuta, Nigeria. And we'll also speak to our legend, Alex Bapela, former Mamelodi Sundowns and Real Rovers player.
9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatam.
Should influencers be expected to be impactful in society? If there is a social or societal conversation that goes up, should we be waiting eagerly to hear what the influencers have to say?
They are more than just entertainers. They are thought leaders to some certain degree. They influence culture, they influence people's thought processes, they set trends, they shape opinions of people. And the sad reality is, although a lot of them don't want to accept it, I think we're getting better with them realizing that embarking in that journey and in that space comes with a certain level of responsibility.
I see it differently in that, professionals are already good at their job, but there's an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. What are the teenagers up to if they are not in class? Let's get in touch with the teenager in sport.
15:01 Central African Time. We're entering into the brand new hour, the second of Africa at Play, where we will be talking to our teenager in sport, Mthunzi Msibi, a talented and dedicated young hockey player. Mthunzi, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing?
Sir, I'm good, and yourself, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How long have you been playing hockey?
Sir, I've been playing hockey since grade 1, sir.
And what do you love so much about this exciting sport called hockey?
Sir, it's similar to soccer, sir, so in a way, sir.
What position do you play in?
I play forward, sir.
And what do you like about playing forward? Are you one of those that makes certain that you score as many goals as possible?
Sir, yes, sir. About forward, sir, you can think, you can score goals, assist your teammates, and sometimes, drill the defenders and stuff.
Are you currently playing for GP High School for boys or still planning to?
Yes, I am, sir.
And how's life at GP High School for boys?
Sir, it's nice, sir. I quite enjoyed it.
And who are some of your hockey teammates that you like playing alongside?
So some of my teammates that I like playing alongside are Koto, Timo, Cade, Blessing, Blake, and a lot, especially the teammates that I play with currently right now, sir.
And your current coach, who is your current coach and what do you like about them?
Sir, Brian Hillock, sir. He's hard on us, sir, and he sees the potential in the players, sir. So he's hard on us so that we can reach our full potential and reach our goals.
You've got a dream to play for GP High School for boys and the South African men's hockey team at an international level. So far, how far have you played in terms of different levels of hockey for GP High School for boys?
So I've played provincial, sir, recently, sir.
And any upcoming hockey events coming your way?
So the season is about to end, sir, but recently, sir, we played at the interprovincial tournament, so that was held at Hilton, sir.
Playing hockey or any sport while you are still at school, it also comes with a cost for your parents. Talk to us about the support that you are getting from your parents.
So I'm getting quite good support, sir, because they do their best, sir, to come watch me, support me, sir, and make sure that I'm good, so that I'm happy, sir.
Any player who's playing for the Green and Gold, the national team that you look up to?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm listening.
Also, Jaden Brooker, sir.
What do you like so much about him?
So that is his basics, sir, and he knows what to do, his vision, and he knows what to do with the ball, sir. So he moves it around, sir, and he's simple, and he just gets the job done.
So if you get an opportunity to represent the national team, which country would you like to beat?
I like to beat Netherlands, sir.
Netherlands is a good nation when it comes to the sport of hockey. Why Netherlands of so many other countries?
Because it has a very good program and it's a very structured team that is very hard to beat. So I'd like to put up a show when I have the opportunity to play against them.
And if you get an opportunity to go spend a full month abroad, making certain that you level up in terms of your playing skills in hockey, which country would it be? Would it still be Netherlands, or you've got something different?
It would be Netherlands, sir.
15:04 Central African time. If you have just joined us, we are talking to an exciting hockey player who's playing for GP High School for boys, and he's got a big plan to represent the school at an international stage and also represent his country, South Africa. So, Mtunzi, talk to us about, if you are not playing hockey, what do you get up to?
And sometimes I play cricket.
Oh, sometimes you play cricket. Interesting. And what's so interesting about cricket versus hockey?
So cricket, so it's just that the banter, and I just love the vibes and the atmosphere there. So.
And as you make it big in sport, you'll have to choose, because it might just be a mission impossible to represent two sporting codes, especially at an international and national level. Is this a scenario where you would go with hockey because you want to play for the national team? Or if you make it in cricket, you could consider playing for the Proteas?
Cricket is just a side hobby, but I wouldn't really consider cricket. So it's just something I like doing, so whenever I have time, besides playing hockey.
And you spoke about how disciplined your coach is. What else have you picked up from your coach that has kept you going in the sport of hockey?
So I've noticed that he sees through people, so he knows your potential, and he knows what you're capable of, so he will push you and try to get you where you're supposed to be, or even further.
Do you like traveling?
Yes, sir.
To which countries except for Netherlands?
So which country I'd like to go to, sir?
Yes.
So probably Sweden, sir.
Ah, Sweden.
Yes, sir.
Have you done some research about it? What's interesting about it?
So apparently, sir, it's like one of the most beautifulest countries, sir. So I'd like to be there.
And at school, what grade are you in, and how's life in the classroom?
So I'm in grade 10, sir, and life in the classroom, sir, is quite good, sir. It's there and there, sir, but I like sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes you don't feel like it, but you know the importance of going.
Yes, sir.
Any favorite subject?
Sir, accounting.
Accounting, so you're very good with numbers.
Yes, sir.
If you have just joined us, we are talking to our teenager in sport, a talented hockey player, and his name is Mtunzi Msibi, who is currently in grade 10, and his favorite subject is accounting. He goes to GP High School for boys, and he would like to represent his country, South Africa, as well as his school at an international stage. Mtunzi, let's talk about the challenges that you think you are faced with as a hockey player? Are there areas of the sport that are still troubling you? Or with your coach being as excellent as he is, you are comfortable?
So I'm comfortable, sir.
Comfortable. And have you tried out playing in different positions so that you don't just master playing as a forward, but you can be a diverse player?
Yes, sir. I've played at the back and I've played in the links, sir, except for goalkeeper, sir. But besides that, sir, I've played all the positions.
How often do you train and how long do you train if there's a tournament coming up?
So we train like the whole week, sir.
Monday to Friday?
No, sir, like probably most of the week, sir. So, for example, Monday would be rest, Tuesday would train, Wednesday would have a game, Thursday would play, and then Friday would rest, and then Saturday would have another fixture.
And how long do you think it will take South Africa to win the Hockey World Cup?
So, probably like, I don't know, so like years, sir.
Like maybe 10 years?
No, sir, like probably like 2 years, sir, because South Africa quite has a quite upcoming squad of players coming into the squad.
That's the voice of Mthunzi Msibi, our teenager in sport who plays hockey for GP High School for boys and also has a big dream to represent his country, South Africa, at an international stage. So Mthunzi, what are you doing to make certain that your dream comes true?
So I'm practicing, sir, and I'm learning more about myself and my weaknesses and what I can work on and what I should improve as a player.
What do you think are your weaknesses, areas of improvement?
So, like, being confident on the ball and knowing what to do in certain situations.
15:10 Central African Time. Mthunzi Msibi, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. All the best in your hockey career and all the best with your studies.
Okay, thank you, sir, and thank you for your time, sir.
15:10 Central African Time, and that's how we conclude our conversation with our teenager in sport, Mthunzi Msibi, who is in grade 10 at GP High School for boys and plays hockey for the school, but also has a big dream to represent his country, South Africa, at an international level. We take a short break. We'll be back shortly.
You like what we do on Channel Africa? Then follow us on our socials. Channel Africa 1 on all social pages. And get the African perspective. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the move with Balisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatam.
Should influencers be expected to be impactful in society? If there is a social or societal conversation that goes up, should we be waiting eagerly to hear what the influencers have to say?
They are more than just entertainers. They are thought leaders to some certain degree. They influence culture, they influence people's thought processes, they set trends, they shape opinions of people. And the sad reality is, although a lot of them don't want to accept it, I think we're getting better with them realizing that embarking in that journey and in that space comes with a certain level of responsibility.
I see it differently in that, professionals are already good at their job, but there is an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. Africa at Play with Neto Chemane on Channel Africa. We are broadcasting to the world about Africa.
Zimbabwe! Zimbabwe! Yebo. This is our traditional music. We are using 3 languages. This is Indebele and Shona and Tonga and Lubale. This is our traditional music from Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls, Zambia and Angola also. Yes, exactly. Enjoy our music. Are you there? Yes, our next song is called Kumkanda. Enjoy.
The right music all the time. On Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Kutoka Kwale hadi Kampala, mwendo wa joka sio haraka. Kutoka Kisumu hadi Kisauni, joka linanyonya nyinyi wahuni. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Linatamba kutoka Kwale hadi Kampala, mwendo wa joka sio haraka, boboboyo. Kutoka Kisumu hadi Kisauni, joka linanyonya nyinyi wahuni, ya 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 yo, linatamba linatamba ili gari la moshi, linasafisha rezabu, linakausha ardhi, linawabwaga wahuni huku Nairobi, kambi ya utumwa. Kutoka Kwale hadi Kampala, mwendo wa joka sio haraka, kutoka Kisumu hadi Kisauni, huku Nairobi, kambi ya utumwa. Joka, 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 linatamba, joka, 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 linatamba, oh joka, 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 linatamba, joka, 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 joka.
Music and lifestyle. We deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning.
Joka Joka by Eric Wainaina, and before that we played you Kumukanda, a song by Mukomba, a Zimbabwean musical group originally from Chinotimba Township, Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, singing in a number of languages including English, Luvale, Tonga, Nyanja, Ndebele, and Shona. It's time for the sports news. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play, starting with boxing news. Manny Pacquiao was left stunned after being denied a history-making victory against Mario Barrios, and the crowd were raging. The 47-year-old Filipino, making his return to the ring 4 years after retiring, was held to a majority draw at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. One judge scored the fight 115 for 113 in Barrios' favor, while the other two scored it 114 for 114. Pacquiao was rocked by a pumping crowd as he took on a younger and far fresher 30-year-old Barrios for the WBC welterweight world title. A Hall of Fame slot had already been secured, but further history was on the line with the chance to become the first from the inductees to win a world title. Still in boxing news, Joseph Bama Rodriguez avoided 2025's year-long pitfall of ruining future plans by not taking care of the present-day business. The pressure to preserve a multi-belt showdown with WBA super flyweight titleist Fernando Pumita Martinez fueled Rodriguez to provide perhaps his finest hour to date. Uncrowded number 5 pound-for-pound fighter for a clinic in a 10-round stoppage of Pumela Cafu yesterday evening for the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco, Texas. A body shot paved the way for a final, but that was ultimately enough for Cafu's corner. The official end came at 2:07 of the 10th round in the dozen main event. In football news, Banyana coach Desiree Ellis praised the team's resilience after defeating Senegal to secure a spot in the 2024 WAFCON semi-final. South Africa beat Senegal 4-1 on penalties after the match ended in a 0-all draw after extra time at the Honia Stadium on Saturday night. Speaking at the post-match presser, Ellis alluded to the good work done at training to practice penalties and believes they reaped the rewards against the Lionesses of Teranga.
As I said yesterday, we've been practicing penalties and we knew who our kickers were going to be. That's why we made the changes that we made as well. We always knew that Andile can save one or two. We always knew. She's done it before. By the way, this is our first penalty shootout win at WAFCON. We lost in 2006, we lost in 2018 in the final. So this is our first win. But I said the game was going to be tough. I said the game was going to be hard. But we prevailed in the penalty shootout. Well, she couldn't continue, but we were confident that we had enough kickers on the pitch. Even if it went past that, we had enough kickers on the pitch, but we were also confident that Andile would make a save or two. We just needed to do what we practiced in training, because we have so many players that can take penalties. Linda would have been the first one. Karabo then became the first one to step up, and she was also one of the walking wounded, but the courage and the resilience that this team has shown and the never say die attitude, I cannot talk enough about that. I think we had a couple of chances. I think in the final third, if we made better decisions, I think there were two really, really great opportunities. If the ball just gets rolled across, we have somebody free to tap it in. But they had a chance right at the end when we didn't pick up. Our hearts were in somewhere else. They had that chance right at the end, and we knew that we needed to be on top of the game. We knew the game plan that they were going to have, and I thought we dealt well with the long ball. The minute we put the ball on the ground, that's how that opportunity came with the penalty. And I've got texts from home that said definitely was a penalty, but sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't go your way, and we prevailed. Our last two words in our pre-match meeting was outplay them and outlast them, and we outlasted them today. We're going to celebrate tonight. That's what we do. We'll think about that tomorrow. We won't overthink anything because let's celebrate what we've done, and that is what we do as well. Celebrate what we've done. Yes, we as a technical team, our heads are going. We're already standing one side, talking how we're going to plan, how we're going to prepare, because 120 minutes with a day less to prepare, with a day to travel, takes a lot out of you. But this team, I don't have enough words to describe this team of the resilience, the courage, the never say die attitude, the willing to fight for each other. When we didn't have someone at left back, Chemane went to go play left back. She didn't care, she pushed someone up. When we didn't have someone up front, Rama went to play up front. So this is what this team was all about. And I think it showed on the pitch today that no matter what they threw at us, we were able to withstand that. And like I said, we will worry about tomorrow. Still today, we'll worry about that tomorrow, but tonight we'll enjoy the victory. Look, yesterday I said the game was not going to be easy. I said the game was going to be a very difficult game because of the way the group that they came out and how they played in that group. And we didn't expect anything less. I thought the first 15 minutes we showed a bit of nerves, trying to get into the game. But once we got into the game, we nullified their threat. the two strikers. They played the long ball, we dealt very well with that. But sometimes we gave the ball away too cheaply, and we knew that when we give the ball away, they're going to transition immediately. But when we were in with opportunities, we made the wrong decisions. But we had said yesterday how Senegal has improved, because we played them last year, June, how the team has improved. You know, to the coach, he's done a fantastic job from last year until now, because from the team that we had against them in June, we only have 12 players here. They have 17 out of 24. But it shows, and you almost wonder if it's the same players, because they've improved so much. So, you know, WAFCON is around the corner again. They must hold their heads up and continue working, because it just shows how football on the African continent has improved, women's football. And hopefully it can get bigger and better and get more sponsorship and more competitions, because we have WAFCON, we have the CAF Champions League, but we need more. We need more. If we're going to compete with the rest of the world, we need more. We need to be similarly to what we get at FIFA tournaments, needs to be similar here, because you're then preparing the team to go to a global event. But so far, the football has been fantastic. You asked me yesterday if I watch some of the games. Yes, I do. And I cannot stress enough how teams has improved. And to your team, your country can be very proud of your performance.
Clubs are splashing the cash this summer as they look to bolster their squads in the transfer window ahead of the new season. Marcus Rashford's dream Barcelona move is set to become a reality after Manchester United agreed to a deal. Barcelona have made an approach for a loan with an option for the England international, who has been told he is no longer required at Old Trafford. Newcastle's Saudi owners will refuse to sell Alexander Isak even if he wants to talk to Liverpool. However, the Reds have turned their attention elsewhere and are set to submit an official bid to Eintracht Frankfurt for Hugo Ekitike after agreeing a 6-year deal with the Frenchman. Elsewhere, Tottenham and Newcastle are chasing Brentford forward Yoane Wisse. There could be an opportunity to sign Victor Osimhen this summer, as he has still not completed a switch to Galatasaray. The Nigerian striker has been left out of Napoli's pre-season training camp, according to the Daily Star. Premier League sides Arsenal, Chelsea and Man United have been previously linked with the Star. In athletics news, South African print sensation Bayanda Walaza spoke confidently about targeting another milestone in the 100 meters after arriving in Düsseldorf, Germany for his first ever FISU World University Games. With Team SA struggling for medals, the 19-year-old is one of the athletes the Federation has pinned their hopes on for a podium finish, along with fellow Olympian and archer Vian Room. This past few months have been a whirlwind for Walaza since winning the silver at the 2024 Paris Olympics in the 4x100-meter relay. Speaking to SABC Sport shortly after touching down, Walaza made it clear that he was in Europe to add to his medal haul.
This is my first varsity games experience, you know. It looks nice, it looks perfect. I can see people like came here, they're ready, they're happy to be here. And I'll be participating in 100 meters and also relay. For now, here, I came here for the goal of winning, you know. Came here to represent my country and making sure that my country comes first, you know, making sure that our country actually shows amongst all countries that are here, you know, because I believe that South Africa is one of the best countries, but they're not noticing it, you know. And I know that as we are here as the team, when I look at the team, you know, I can see that we're actually going to make something great here. We're actually going to showcase how great is South Africa, you know, and my goal is to make sure that I live here with great results.
Walaza admits his performance in France, as well as other meets that followed, has made him a household name, but he continues to respect his competitors.
I'll say I don't underestimate any competition. You know, these sports, I've seen that there's no big guy here. You know, you can be taken off any day. You know, so each and every competition that I go to, I bring my A game. I make sure that I'm focused, make sure that I don't lose it, you know. It is great coming here as an Olympian because of already seeing people already noticing me, you know. It gives that vibe of, okay, people, they see me, they greet me, you know, making friendship-wise, you know. But I am not underestimating this competition. I took the whole week preparing for this competition, making sure that I don't lose it, making sure that I bring my A game. So I'll say I'm excited to be here and I'll be as competitive as possible.
The World Junior 100 meters and 200 meters champion insisted that he was in his peak form ahead of the heat races on Monday.
I came back from USA, and after coming back from USA, I needed to rest, because it's the body. So that's why it took me 1 week to come back. I had that one other week of not doing hard training, but just making sure that I'm recovering. And then I had this last week, for preparation, making sure that do my blocks, do everything proper, put in the speed, put in everything. So I'll say the preparation looked great. I'm in my greatest form.
As a debutant at the FISU Games, the TUT student added that this is something on his bucket list on his way to becoming an elite athlete.
Surely, I think it is a route where I must go through. I believe that to be the greatest, you need to click all the boxes. Being there in the African Games, take it, being there. So I'll say this is a journey which I need to take for me to be one of the greatest. To know how it feels each and every competition. I'm there for the schools. I have felt how it feels to be a schooler and running. Now varsity, I want to feel how it is, to be in the big competition, especially in varsity, know how it feels to gain the experience, because it's like connecting all these things that you can collect for you to be the greatest, so that you can have an experience that you can say, I am where I am because of the background, So I'll say this is one of the background that I just need to tick to make sure that my future is great. Yes, surely for people I think underestimate everything that has to do with varsity. They think varsity is a low-class thing, but they don't understand that winning well students can actually bring exposure to you. It can bring you sponsorships. It can attract big people to see you. It can attract future for you. Because if you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's watching. So I believe that each and every competition that you are in, put your all in, because if you don't know who's watching, you might get sponsorships, you might get noticed, you might get what you need in life. So I'll say, for me to be here, I feel honored, to be here.
Middle distance runner Bawane Obotseng is elated to have secured a historic back-to-back 10-kilometer Mandela Day run titles, and he did so in a time of 32 minutes. Speaking to SABC Sport, Obotseng says running to honor the legacy of Madiba has become a great part of his life.
Nelson Mandela Day, it means a lot to me, not only myself, but to everyone who came here to celebrate this day. We're not only celebrating the day, but we're celebrating a legend, a man who has brought freedom to South Africans. So all I want to say is it means a lot to me and to everyone else.
Obotseng explains why it is important to have more young people participate in social sport movements like the Mandela Day Walk and Run.
I'd like to say I would like to see a lot of young people coming out to participate in this event. There's a lot of support along the route. You get to engage, you become active. I think it's also good for health, for the mind as well. You have to come out and participate.
The 22-year-old is fresh from participating in the Absa Run Your City series in Durban last weekend. He adds that he wants to remain consistent in his running and shares what is next for him.
Try and defend the title, but it's not always easy, because if you win it twice, there's always going to be a guy who comes in to make sure that you don't get the title the following year. There's always a guy who's going to come in and try to challenge or stop you from getting the title. But I'm sure I'll come back ready next year, even much more stronger to come and win this race again.
In motorsport, in Formula One, Christian Horner is jobless for the first time since 2004 after his brutal Red Bull sacking last week. The 51-year-old is now on gardening leave for the rest of the year and will be weighing up his options from January 2026. Rumors have been swirling around over the Brits' potential destinations, including a shock move to Ferrari. Reports in Italian and German media began claiming in May that Ferrari boss Fred Vassilio's position is under threat, but German outlet BILD has added fuel to fire, claiming that Ferrari had made informal contact with Horner. SA swimmer Peter Kutsia has explained how he switches gears to clinch his first gold medal for his country at the FISU World University Games, setting up another record in the 100 meters backstroke.
Super happy and so happy to get a medal for South Africa. And thank you for all the support on Instagram and social media, and also my aunt in the crowd, Renee, and the whole team watching. Thank you very much. It's been an amazing meet so far. Yeah, I mean, I just do what I normally do. After I got it yesterday, I was very happy with that time. I would have taken that from this meet for the 100, but just went back and switched off and came to do a little swim this morning, and I came back with a lot of focus and intent, and I was able to drop it more, so super happy.
The second medal for SA came from Lara van Niekerk in the women's breaststroke after she clocked 30.68 on the board to get silver. She too was elated, especially on the back of an injury.
I'm very happy. It was a very close race, but after coming back from an injury, I couldn't be happier to be in this position. It was amazing having my teammate next to me in the final. She really helps to calm me down when I get very nervous, and I'm just very happy for her. First time swimming under 31 for her, and I think this is a stepping stone for a lot of big things coming.
Team South Africa would go on later to win a third medal in the relay, getting their hands on a bronze. One of the athletes was Simone Moll, who had earlier swam her personal best in the 50 meters breaststroke and finished fourth.
I just swam the 50 breaststroke. I got fourth, so I just missed out on a medal, but it was a PB for me. It was the first time I broke 31. So I was incredibly happy, and it was just amazing to swim alongside Lara. I mean, she had an amazing race, and I'm just so proud of her, and yeah, I couldn't ask for a better race.
There's another chance tonight for another medal to be added to the tally, with Michaela de Villiers having made the women's 100-meter breaststroke final. She is eager to push herself to the limit.
I'm super excited. Breaking 101 was something that I really wanted to do for this race, and I'm super excited that I got to do it. Training has been really hard up to this point, and I'm really glad that I pushed through and got to swim a little bit of backstroke. So I'm really looking forward to the final tomorrow.
9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the Move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatam.
Should influencers be expected to be impactful in society? If there is a social or societal conversation that goes up, should we be waiting eagerly to hear what the influencers have to say?
They are more than just entertainers. They are thought leaders to some certain degree. They influence culture, they influence people's thought processes, they set trends, they shape opinions of people. And the sad reality is, although a lot of them don't want to accept it, I think we're getting better with them realizing that they're embarking in that journey, and in that space comes with a certain level of responsibility.
I see it differently in that, professionals are already good at their job, but there is an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
15:43 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. Thank you for choosing Africa's number one. We now welcome to the conversation Mark Alexander, the president of South African Rugby Union, shortened for SARU. Mr. Alexander, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa at Play.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Let's start by congratulating the Under-20 team for doing South Africa proud, beating New Zealand in the Under-20 World Rugby Championship 23-15. It goes to show that the rivalry between New Zealand and South Africa is not just about the elite level where we get to witness the Boks and the All Blacks, but it is in all levels of the game. Your reaction?
I think their performance at the World Under-20 Championship was nothing but short of extraordinary. They wore that green and gold with pride, discipline, and relentless spirit. Through grit and passion, they showed the world that what it truly means to be South African.
And Mr. Alexander, talking about the Boks, this year 2025 marks full 25 years celebrating the Boks, 30 years celebrating the Boks 1995 Rugby World Cup victory, and we've seen the Boks lining up with the Azzurri of Italy on back-to-back occasions, with the second match being the celebration of the 3 decades since the Boks won that first ever Rugby World Cup in South Africa. Your impression on this 30 years journey since that 1995 Rugby World Cup victory?
I think that was a moment in time for South Africans, the 30th celebration. It was something unbelievable. As we mark the 30-year milestone, we honor the legacy there with deep pride and renewed purpose. It reaffirms our unwavering commitment to grow the game, and you can see where the game is grown from there. That was a landmark moment. It's a moment in which hope and triumphed over division and unity took root. So it was a landmark day for South Africans.
When you meet other presidents of different rugby unions across the world, what sort of conversations are you talking about, knowing that the Boks are the 4-time world champions and no one has ever done it like the Boks did, not even New Zealand?
No, look at stuff. People also don't realize that we actually are a third world country with the fluctuating currency, and we compete against the dollar, the euro, the yen, and the pound. And to do what we do, it just shows the resilience of the South African people. And once we do things together and we rally behind each other, and nothing's impossible.
And talking about the third world country versus your elite countries with superior currencies, could this be an issue that is dictating terms when it comes to ticketing of the Boks matches? Because there's always been the general public feeling that those that are in disadvantaged areas and ordinary South Africans at times are unable to attend these matches unless given the complimentary tickets.
You must understand the thing. We don't get funded by government like all the first world countries we play against. Even with COVID, we didn't get handouts when the thing was down. We had to keep the organization running. 99.9% of our money we generate ourselves, and the only way to generate it and keep our players is by hosting these events. And I know it's easy for somebody to grandstand and say, you must make it open for everybody else. But if then we can't pay the players, then we won't have a strong national team. We will just be another South African statistic. We try our utmost to get as many people as possible to watch the game. We've got box towns around the country with the breweries now. Because we understand it's difficult. And look at only 45,000 people can watch the game anyway. And so one looks at to run South African rugby costs us 2.4 billion. 2.4 billion to keep that thing turning over. And if we can't generate the money, we only generate money from sponsorship, broadcast, and ticketing. There's nobody giving us handouts, man.
And Mr. Alexander,
we want the game to be seen by as many South Africans as possible. That's why we got a sliding scale. But you know what people don't realize? When a visiting team arrives in South Africa, from that moment onwards, we pick up all the cost. Not only the cost for hotel accommodation, for local transport, we pick up the cost for the insurances. And the insurances we're talking about, we have to insure the opposition and the players we call back from other countries that apply their trade abroad. We pay the insurance for those players, and it costs an arm and a leg.
It is knowledge that the public always needs to know so that they understand some of these decisions. And talking about the sport as a business, with SA Rugby not getting funding, are there conversations perhaps through the sport ministry, but also the Department of Education and the Department of Health, because these are two departments that would play an important role, of course, with the addition of the sport ministry as the third department, playing an important role in grassroots rugby, in making certain that SA Rugby is not feeling the pain of not being able to reach every corner of South Africa, because talent could be coming from the rural areas, but with no budget and having to come up with mechanisms to be able to sustain SARU, then these departments would play an important role in assisting with the development of the sport. Although with all the challenges, you've done superbly well versus other sporting codes that are getting funding.
You see, the government cannot fund everything. We need to understand we got a crisis in education. We got a crisis in health. We got a crisis in housing. We got a crisis in energy. And we understand the government cannot fund us. We understand there's There's other more important things for people to just live that the government must assist with. So it's a difficult thing. And the money we generate at that level of the Springboks funds all of the rugby, from the Springboks all the way down to the schools that we support, and we try and grow the game. So it's not easy. We understand the government's got other pressures, so we do have to do what we have to do to make sure it's sustainable.
If you have just joined us, we are talking to the president of the South African Rugby Union, SARU President Mr. Mark Alexander, talking all things rugby in South Africa and, of course, the African continent. Mr. Alexander, you spoke about 2.4 billion to be able to run SARU affairs in terms of looking after the sport of rugby. Is this in a period of a year?
That's a period of a year. You know, these people, the players who play in that level, they're professional players. They get paid. If we cannot play our players, they'll go play. They play their trade and they'll go play for other countries. There's no money in amateur sport. There's no money. There's no money to go around. And we understand the government's got other pressing issues, and we're not here to put pressure on the government. So we have to make it work for us, and we have to find all different mechanisms. You know, when we were talking about getting an equity partner, people complained we're selling out to the Americans. But, you know, we can't do it on our own. We need to generate the revenue. And the way we generate the revenue is by selling broadcast, sponsorship, that funds from the cradle to the grave. We're not fortunate enough to have handouts like other big nations. You know, when we talk about free-to-air and stuff, in big nations, the government puts money to support. We can't afford to as a country. And we understand it. We're sympathetic to it because we know we've got other challenges as a country. And we box way above our weight. The teams we compete against are far better funded than we are. But, you know, we as South Africans, we do things differently. We make things work. We juggle things and we deliver. Our junior team just won. You know, there's a school team. We got a school team that we played in Middelburg now that will be playing in the tournament in South Africa. Even that tournament, we have to fund everything ourselves. Everything. And we're not complaining. We just have to do what we have to do to make things work.
With the Springboks being the 4-time World Rugby champions, does that bring sort of automatic attention from the sponsors?
It does. It puts your organization in lights. But again, you need to. You know, it's a business. You have to run it like a business. And then you got a brand that people want to associate with. But you have to deliver to them. You also while you take on the one end, they also want something back in return. So you need to look at it as a business, entertainment. We're in the entertainment business, and rugby is part of it.
Is the future of Rassie Erasmus safe?
Yeah, the Rassie is safe. We don't know. There's no problem there. I think we got the playing talent. We got the coaching talent. We just need to make sure we can deliver on our thing by funding the programs and doing what we have to do to raise funds.
Before I let you,
the biggest thing we would like to have is as many South Africans as possible watching our games.
Yes, I wanted to get to that, Mr. Alexander, that we got to witness that 30 years anniversary celebration since the Boks 1995 Rugby World Cup victory, that match being shown on SABC. And we also now are able to see a documentary about the Boks chasing the sun, also on SABC. And I was smiling on my own to say it looks like the nation is about to be able to see rugby in big numbers, because with the SABC, many corners can be reached.
You know, when Mvuzu Beba was the CEO, we offered them the rights, and they could bid on the rights. But they were I said, you can bid on the rights, and it's a 4-year deal. You can sign the deal and do the deal with us. But part of that tender process, we want the revenue guaranteed. And that means you give us a bank guarantee for the 4 years. I cannot come to do a deal with an organization, come the end of the month, they tell me, sorry, we don't have revenue to pay you now. Well, how do I pay my players? I've got a lot of people I've employed, and they're not too sure if they're going to get paid. And we know that how many SMEs have been bankrupted by not being paid on time. So when we do these deals, we do it with certain conditions, and even nowadays the games we're in talks with the SABC, with the CEO Nomza and SuperSport to find mechanisms to make it work for them. But you see, like the other channels all over the world, when you buy sports content, you need to commercialize that, and I think that is the thing lacking at the SABC currently, man. You need to commercialize the rights you've just bought to make sure you can pay for the rights. So we got other challenges, It's not easy. It's nice to talk about it, and we can say a lot of wonderful things to each other. And that will just be grandstanding. But we need to when we do something, we need to put a plan in place that is workable and deliverable. And that's the crux of the matter.
Indeed, that's the voice of Mark Alexander, the president of South African Rugby Union, SARU president. Mr. Alexander, before I let you go, the women boxer will be heading to the Rugby World Cup next month in August. And this just goes to show that overall, South African rugby, under all challenges, is doing superbly well. Your wishes to the team?
Well, I think our ladies are growing leaps and bounds. Look, we a couple of years behind everybody else, but our ladies are growing. They will get there. They might not win this World Cup, but as soon we will be on the podium. We in the top 10, and we're slowly working our way down because we're playing catch up. But our girls will get there, and they're committed. You can see how the girls are growing. Every game they play, they're getting better, and so we really hope that corporate South Africa also don't just pay lip services by investing in women's sport, not only rugby, but women's sport in general. We have got some corporate sponsors now that are on board, but we need more. To deliver a world-class team, you need to have a well-funded team. There's lots of things. It's just not going to play in the tournament. It's the preparation, it's the high-performance environment you need to create for them and fund that. So our ladies are getting better every game, and you'll see they play 2 games against the Black Ferns, the All Blacks, in the next 2 weeks. Please go out in your droves at Athlone Stadium and support them.
South African Rugby Union SARU President Mark Alexander talking to us on Africa at Play. Mr. Alexander, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. All the best to South African rugby. Your good work is noticed on a daily basis.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
15:58 Central African Time. That's how we wrap up our conversation on all things South African rugby with the President, Mark Alexander. And we also got to speak to our teenager in sport at this second hour with African sounds of beautiful music also coming your way. We will be talking to our correspondent, Simon Boza from East Africa in Kampala as we head into the third and final hour of the show after the short break.
Africa Update on Channel Africa with Lulu Kabu.
The situation in northern Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province continues to deteriorate, with fresh reports revealing a sharp rise in child abductions and mass displacements. What needs to be done to address the root causes of the conflict in your view? And especially just considering that resources are at the center of all of this.
This has now been going on since the end of 2017 in terms of the armed conflict, but the underlying factors have been in play really for generations now in the Mozambican setting, and the socio-economic drivers which have provided space for exploitation by external forces and by radicalized internal elements are really keeping a pilot light under this conflict. And the Mozambican government has struggled both in terms of its hard security response, but also in terms of its soft security and its development response to address the key drivers in play. And so we are likely to see a continuation of this kind of conflict.
Pierce Piju.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. 180 minutes on the world of sport. music. That's Africa at Play with Neto, Neto Chemane on Channel Africa from an African perspective.
1600 Central African time, we've entered into the third and final hour of Africa at Play, and we are opening up with an East African sport conversation with our correspondent based in Kampala, Uganda, Sam Mpoza. Sam Mpoza, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Good afternoon, my brother, Neto Neto Chemane. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for joining us. Zimbabwe was not part of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations that is currently underway in Morocco, but excitingly so, they have won the Rugby Africa Cup. So it goes to show that overall, Africa is talented in different sporting codes, and it only takes extra effort in making certain that you do not just excel in one. Your thoughts on the Rugby Africa Cup?
Well, yes, like you rightly said, Africa is endowed in all sports. If you don't win this, you can win that. If you don't win in this discipline, you can win in the other discipline, which is okay because, of course, there are many sporting codes available for everyone to compete in. I think if we are to put together all the sporting codes, there are over, I think, 50. There's over 50 that Olympic sports. But there are also those that we do in Africa, but they have not yet been picked up by the International Olympic Committee to be taken as, international sports codes. But of course, yes, like we said, they didn't go to Morocco for the Women's World Cup. Africa Cup of Nations, but they won the Rugby Africa Cup, and now they earned the right to go and represent Africa in the Rugby World Cup 2027 in Australia. So that means a lot for Zimbabwe. Uganda wanted to take that spot too. Unfortunately, they finished seventh. This was a very bad performance for Uganda because the last Rugby Africa Cup in 2024, Uganda finished fifth. This time they were almost fighting relegation because Ivory Coast finished eighth. Uganda beat Ivory Coast, and Ivory Coast finished eighth. And now Ivory Coast are facing relegation because I think they will need to play a playoff for them to confirm their stay in the top 8 of Africa. So Uganda is safe. They'll still play top 8 rugby in Africa, but they're at the edge. And then Kenya, another good team in Africa in rugby, were able to finish fifth after losing to Algeria, and then of course we had Morocco coming third. Of course, Namibia, who lost to Zimbabwe, are second, and then we have Morocco in third. In third, then you have Algeria in fourth, then Kenya fifth, and then you have Senegal in sixth, and then seventh is Uganda, and Ivory Coast eighth. So that is how the Rugby Africa Cup ended, and that is now the new rankings for Africa in rugby. Of course, South Africa remain in the other on top because they are the world champions. Now Namibia will have to go and play a repechage with the second team in Asia, and then we'll see whether if they win that, they also go to the World Cup. And then we pray for Namibia because if we have 3 teams in the World Cup 2027 from Africa, of course that means a lot for African rugby. It adds a lot. Like I have always told you that every time an African team gets that exposure, it works for Africa because the teams that remain home, when they get a chance to play a team that went and played at that level, they will now be able to judge them, to gauge themselves against the best in the world. Because they will know if Namibia played well in the World Cup, if South Africa played well, or Zimbabwe played well in the World Cup and they probably were in the semi-finals or won it, and then we play against them, maybe we beat them or we lose by a few points, then that means even our level is growing. That is it, and we pray so hard that we have 3 teams in the World Cup 2027.
Talking about the World Cup 2027, Mpoza, I realize that lately Uganda is blessed with hosting a number of events, currently hosting the Pearl of Africa T20 series. This is good for the country, especially looking at a few years to come where the country will be fortunate with having proper infrastructure and facilities?
Yes, true. Whenever you have a big tournament in the country, of course, that works well for the sports in the country, because this is the time when government and all other stakeholders can now invest in facility upgrade or even construction. So this T20 series, Power of Africa T20 series, coming back to Uganda. It was here last year, and it came back this year too. That means, of course, a great improvement in our facilities, because we have teams coming like as far as Asia. The United Arab Emirates is here playing in this tournament. Uganda beat UAE yesterday by 6 runs, but we also have local teams like African teams, Tanzania, Kenya, Nigeria. They're all here in Kampala playing in this tournament. So that gives the players exposure. It gives the Uganda Cricket Association Federation exposure in terms of organizing international events, but it also gives the teams exposure, because if you are playing a team from Asia, Asia is very good in cricket. So if you're playing a team from Asia and you beat them, then that also helps you to know where you stand now in the game. It helps you a lot. But also, facility-wise, of course, for teams like that, those ones to come and play, they would demand a high-level standard of, facilities. And that, of course, forces you as organizers to ensure that your facilities match the standards that these international teams want to come and play on. And when they go back home, of course, the facilities stay home, they remain here, and that helps your local players also to play on good facilities. And one day when they go out there to play where there are good facilities, they will not have a complaint that we are not used to the facility. The oval, here we play on a bad oval, there we found very good ovals, so the other people are better than us because they were used to that good standard. Those are the excuses we always had, especially in football. Because our players would tell you, we train on bad surface, but when we go out there, we find the competition being played on good surface. And we compete with people who have grown up playing on good surface. So you cannot beat them on good surface. So that helps us a lot. And I think we are on the right track as Africa.
If you have just joined us, we are talking to our East African correspondent, Sam Mboza, based in Kampala, Uganda. Sam Mboza, please to stay on the line. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll find out how are the preparations for the Women's AfroBasket tournament.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
16:09 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play, live every Saturday and Sunday on DSTV Audio Bouquet Channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are in South Africa. Alternatively, you can reach us from anywhere in the world on channelafrica.co.za. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. We still have our East African correspondent, Sam Mboza from Kampala, Uganda. Sam Mboza, let's talk about the game of basketball. How are the preparations for the AfroBasket?
Well, the Uganda national women's basketball team, also known as the Gazelles, is in Egypt, where they have spent now more than 1 week. They first trained in Kampala for around 2 weeks before they shifted camp to Cairo Egypt, where they played 3 games. They played against Egypt, they played against Rwanda and Cameroon. They lost against Egypt and Rwanda, but they beat Cameroon. Then after that, they are now in Alexandria, where they are preparing from. Then next week, probably by Tuesday, they will be flying to Abidjan in Ivory Coast, where they will be competing in the 2025 Women's Afro-Basket Championship. So this time round, Uganda wants to post a good performance. The last tournament, they finished 5th. They are looking to at least perform well. A few players from abroad, especially from USA, have now joined the team. Of course, around 5 players were supposed to come from USA to join the team. By last night, 3 of them were in camp. They were still waiting for 2 to join the team before they leave to go to Ivory Coast. So the preparations are very good, and the girls are in high spirits according to the information I get from the media officer who traveled with the team to Egypt.
So, Boza, let's also talk about the Cranes who have left for Tanzania for the Four Nations Pre-Chan tournament. How's it going?
Well, yes, this is another opportunity for the Uganda Cranes to test themselves before they play they host the Chan Championship. Remember, this year's Chan Championship is kicking off on 2nd August in Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. 3 nations. For the first time in the world, a championship, an international football championship, is going to be hosted by 3 countries. All eyes will be on East Africa first, because this is going to be the first time a football tournament organized under FIFA is held in 3 countries. Before we go to the World Cup, that will also be in 3 countries, in Canada, USA, and Mexico. So I'm sure even organizers of the World Cup, their eyes will be here on East Africa to see what is happening, how probably they can pick a leaf from here before they organize that tournament. So the Cranes will be are already in Dar es Salaam, where they're going to play against their 4 nations, of course, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and the guest team is Senegal in this tournament. Congo was supposed to be here, Congo Brazzaville, but they withdrew from the competition, so Senegal replaced them. So they're going to play a round-robin tournament, but just for build-up purposes. The coaches trying to test their players ahead of the tournament. This tournament will end on 28th. It starts on 24th of this month, and then it will end on 28th in Dar es Salaam. So after that tournament, the Cranes will fly back to Kampala. And then the Kenya Harambee Stars will go back to Nairobi to wait for their group. Then Tanzania Taifa Stars will stay in Tanzania, and then the Lions of Senegal will be in Senegal. I think they'll stay in Tanzania because that is where their group is. Of course, a 28-man team was yesterday announced, and the head coach is More Byekwaso, a local coach. Is going to be helped by Fred Muhumuza. Our senior national team coach, Paul Put, this time around is working as a technical director to this team. He's not the coach, but he's of course also helping on the team. And I've seen his assistants, the trainers, are busy working with the team. So the team is in high spirits, and back home the preparations are going on well. There are different trainings for the security guys, for the media people who are going to attend, to cover, and the other stakeholders, service providers for the Chan Championship. We hope it's going to be a very successful event.
Simon Boza, our correspondent based in East Africa, in Kampala, Uganda. Simon Boza, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play.
My pleasure, my brother, Neto Neto Chemane. I'm told you are also the grandfather.
Yeah, the great-grandfather's grandson. Thank you so much, Mr. Mpoza. 16:15 Central African Time. We will be talking to the football legend, Alex Bapela, former Mamelodi Sundowns, Real Rovers, and Bafana midfielder. And we will also touch base with the president of the Confederation of African Athletics, President Hamad Malboum Kalkaba, about the Under-18, Under-20 Youth Athletics Championships concluding at the capital of Ogun State in Abeokuta, Nigeria. Africa. We will have that conversation a little later. But for now, let's say a proper goodbye to the East African brother Sam Mpoza with a song from East Africa by Eddie Kenzo, who is a singer from Uganda and a music executive, Maria Rosa.
The stories, the scores, the spirit of the game. Catch Africa at Play with Neto Chemane. Saturdays from 2 to 5 p.m. on Channel Africa.
Coming to you all the way from the Auckland Park Studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, this glorious Thursday afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are live on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, if you have DSTV, it's 802 OpenView channel 628. Download the SABC Plus app so you can take us with you wherever you go. Good afternoon to you, Mateko. How are you doing this afternoon?
My dearest, I am happy that you got the memo that this show is wearing black today. Our social media specialist is wearing black. Our madam producer is in black. You are in black. I'm in black. I love it for us.
All black.
All black.
We actually need to do a photo shoot.
And actually, a group photo.
Group
Yeah.
photo.
With that black elephant. Hello there, my name is Matsako Musito and I am contributing as co-host on a show called The Upside here on Channel Africa. We are in your company wherever you are in the African region between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. in Central African time.
Hey guys, Tebohole Kuleni here from the Upside team on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Join us every single weekday, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central African time for the ultimate afternoon drive show.
Bringing you lifestyle, news and views and opinion, most importantly, because that matters always, hey? So catch us on air. I, of course, work with the wonderful Tebohole Kuleni and we are very happy to be here, so join us.
Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebohole Kuleni and Matseko Musito. Tamengo Bennett talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa.
Right, coming up after the news at 9 o'clock, we have On the Move with Palisa and Benjamin. Good morning, Palisa.
Morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm always fabulous. Thank you very much indeed.
Doing good. Well, let me tell you a story, Peter. If you look, in fact, just outside this window, right, you can see the street right next to us. There's a street like coming through, a residential street coming this way. Back in varsity, I went to the University of Johannesburg, the Bunting Road campus on our right, and there's the Kingsway campus on our left. A friend of mine and I went to the library. We couldn't find the book we wanted, so we walked to the Kingsway campus, to that library. got there, found what we needed, and then walked down through this residential area. And as we were about to reach like a few meters just before the SABC here where we got mugged by two guys, and we got mugged in front of a group of men doing construction in one of those residential houses. They just watched it happen, and everything happened. The guys took our phones and they ran off, got in a car, shoot. We're obviously devastated. They went on to do the work that they wanted to do. So we're speaking about, I'm telling you.
Just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play, as we also welcome the legend to the Legends Corner, Alex Bapela, who is a football legend who used to play for the likes of Real Rovers and Mamelodi Sundowns, Masanda Wana, but also got a couple of caps representing the national team, Bafana Bafana, and currently plowing back to the young generation as a coach. Like I always say, as a legend, you retire only to bring back your boots and lace them up and return to the field of play. So, Alex, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Good evening, brother, and good evening to your viewers and listeners. How are you?
No, I'm good. You are on the field doing what you love the most. Now that you are no longer playing as a professional, you're coaching the upcoming generation. What's happening where you are?
And I always wish I can just cut at least 40 years of my age so that I can go back to the pitch. I enjoy that very well. I was watching the engine tournament where I was watching the youngsters doing what they do best. I think these youngsters are more talented and more skillful than us. They are doing a very good job.
And if you cut 40 years of your life, you will be back to 15, so you will be a teenager again. Which team would you like to play for as a teenager?
I'll play for Skukun United.
Lovely stuff. And talking about the young talent, what are your thoughts on the state of development of football in South Africa?
You know, in all honesty, I think what South Africa is doing as far as development is concerned, it's very good. I mean, even the results are showing we can be able to stand our ground against very good teams in the country, in the continent, even globally. Because if you see, we've got the under-17 that qualified for the World Cup, we've got the under-20 qualified for the World Cup. I think what more can we ask for? Our development teams are doing very well, thanks to the coaches and management for what they're doing with our young kids.
And we've got Banyana that made it to the semi-finals of the WAFCON Morocco 2024.
Tell me about it. Banyana also qualified. So it looks like we are qualifying country now. We are not only qualifying because we are hosting, now we qualify even if we are not hosting. That's good for the country.
Let's talk about Alex Bapela as a young boy. How did you get interested in football?
Sure. You know, one thing about football, it just happens. It's so automatic. Eh? You know, when I was still growing up, football was the only thing that I was doing, and I loved it so much. I had a lot of passion. So getting into it, it was no-brainer. Even though it was a challenge between playing soccer and looking after my father's livestock. But at the end of the day, became the winner.
And talking about your father, is he still around?
My father is gone. He's not around anymore. I mean, if I'm 55 now, I'm the fifth born in the family. Just think, for sure he would be over 100 years now. No, he's not around anymore.
Yeah, that's a century right there, and over a century actually. How do you remember him?
You know, my father was a loving father, even though he was staying far away from us. Because when you grow up in Limpopo, you just know that when you grow up, you have to go work in Gauteng. And my father was working in Gauteng, and we were at home, but he made sure that whatever chance he get, while the wives were giving him off, he would come back home and see us and make sure that we are well looked after. Even though he couldn't come, but he'll make sure that he sent money every month so that we can get something to eat.
If you have just joined us, we're having an exciting conversation with the football legend Alex Bapela, former Real Rovers, Mamelodi Sundowns, and Bafana Bafana midfielder. So, Alex, let's talk about your playing days. Any couple of games in mind that you'll never forget where you thought you had a good day on the pitch?
You know, the game that springs into my mind is the game we played. It was an Afro-Asian Cup where African teams were playing against the Asian teams, and we're playing in Saudi Arabia in the finals. That's the best game that I played in the national colors. And it's unfortunate because the game was not clear on TV because we were in Saudi Arabia. So, but that's game that stand out for me. And beside that, will be the game where we're playing third and fourth place in Ghana and Nigeria in 2000 and African Cup of Nations. I played that game. I remember I even scored a penalty because we were playing against Tunisia and we won on penalties. I'm the one who scored one of the games. These are the two games that are standing out, even though there is another one where we play against Sweden in Loftus. It was Mandela inauguration where I gave Nomvete the final pass and then we scored. These are the three games that stand out.
And talking about Bella Nomvete, how was it playing alongside such a speedy forward player who was not shy to pass the net?
And I was the slowest there. So I just made sure that when I pass him the ball, I pass him, give him a through pass, and then I come late so that if there are some scraps there, I have to finish up. But it was super because since my playing career, remember from the days of Real Rovers, I made Andres Spola a star because every time I passed him, he'll finish. I came to Sundowns, it was Mambush, Ndao, and Rafael Sugu. So as a player, I would love to make players shine because naturally I'm a shy person. So I pass the responsibility to the ones who are not shy to hit the net. And if they hit the net, I become the happiest player. And Bele was one of those.
And talking about Andres Cebola, it was actually his birthday earlier this week. I hope he called it to send you a piece of the cake.
He called to say, he said, Andres is so naughty. He said to me, thank you for making me a star because I passed him and he scored and he was the top goal scorer. He even left me at Rovers to go to Paris because he shown more than I did and he went first. That's why he said, thank you so much for making him star. I'm what I am today as Andres Cebola because of the passes that you gave me. He's a very sweet guy.
Interesting indeed. There's never a dull moment talking to a football legend. So, Alex, let's not hold you up. Please do return to the field and finish off what you've started. And all the best, and thank you for not just being greedy and say, I used to be a star, therefore, but you are returning to the field of play to plow back to the upcoming generation so that the country does not run short of stars like you.
I'm at Max Park scouting for new players because now I'm the head of development at Skuku United. So I look for this youngsters so that we can groom them further so that Skuku can be very good with development as well because we want to compete in this junior tournament. So thank you so much for calling me. Thank you so much for making me a start, reminding people that I'm still alive.
Thank you so much. That was Alex Bapela, the football legend who used to play for the likes of Real Rovers, Mamelodi Sundowns, and Bafana Bafana. And he's now the head of development at Sekhukhune United, busy scouting at Max Park at a junior tournament to make certain that the club can beef up their team signings for the upcoming new season. This is Africa at Play. We will be talking to the president of the Confederation of African Athletics shortly to reflect to the event that is concluding today at the capital of Ogun State. That is the Africa Under-18 and Under-20 Youth Athletics Championships.
From football fields to finish lines,
storms into the history books.
Neto Chemane brings you sports on Africa at Play.
Let's be honest,
And I'm hard if I be honest. She in control, but she feel on it. Me patrol, that calm me down. You like this, I like thing, my love. I love being your love. I'm trying to show
the story because in the first hour of the show, we're speaking about community involvement in addressing personal crises, and we're finding out the question: have you ever witnessed someone in distress and said nothing, or you were too scared or nonchalant to intervene? So that's the conversation we're having in the first hour of today's show.
Wow, I mean, it's an interesting one, and sadly, especially gender-based violence.
Yeah.
Everybody sees it, everybody hears it, and for some reason, it's a difficult thing for people to intervene. I'm fascinated to hear about that conversation.
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till
16:33 Central African Time. If you're a football fan, good news is that the semi-finals of the ongoing Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 will get underway this Tuesday, and both matches will be on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4 and SABC 3. Kicking off the day on Tuesday will be Morocco, the host nation, up against Ghana, the Black Queens, and at 2100 Central African Time, the big rivalry of women's football in Africa will see the green and white of Nigeria taking on the green and gold of South Africa. These are the champions, the reigning champions, and the 9-time champions that will be taking us to a moment of glory to see who will make it to the final. The Super Falcons have a mission X that is on the line where they want to win their 10th title, so they are going to be ruthless and make certain that they fight with everything they have, while Banyana want their second title as African champions. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens in those two clashes. If you love basketball, there's action currently underway. We've seen Czech Republic going down. Actually, that match ended in a draw. Czech Republic and Brazil ending at 55 points apiece. And Portugal under-19 beat Hungary by 74-58, while France under-19 beat Japan by 76-64. And these are World Rugby Championship, World Basketball Championship under-19 matches that are currently ongoing. China and Nigeria. China beat Nigeria by 96-71, while Israel went down by 80-86 against South Korea. Spain under-19 and Canada under-19 coming up at 1700 Central African Time and at 2000 Central African Time. There's another match between USA under-19 women and Australia under-19 women. At the Asia Cup women playoffs, still in basketball, it's 66-101 between South Korea and China. Australia beat Japan by 88-79, and we will continue to bring you up to speed with regards to different matches that are taking place across different sporting codes. And the Zimbabwean Premier Soccer League is currently underway. There's only one match today, as most of the matches played yesterday. You would remember that most of the world is experiencing the preseason as it stands because of the leagues that are kicking off in August and ending in May of the next year. But with the Zimbabwe Premier Soccer League, it is a different case, as the league kicks off in January and concludes when it concludes later in the year. Scotland is up against Highlanders, and that match kicked off at 1500 Central African Time. Yesterday, Triangle United played to a 1-0 draw against Ngezi, and Green Fuel beat Bikita Minerals by 2-0. And it is an endless list of many exciting features in the Zimbabwean Premier Soccer League. Kariba will be taking on MWOS this coming Wednesday, the 23rd of July at 1500 Central African Time. Hirentals will take on Chicken Inn also on the same day, and Yada is up against Green Fuel, while Bikita Minerals will take on Scotland. Highlanders will line up against Triangle United, and Dynamos will want to fight back after going down against Simbabora by 1-0. The reigning champions, they will be taking on Manica Diamonds. 16:37 Central African Time. We're still battling with our line here to the president of the Confederation of African Athletics, that is Hamad Kalkaba, but we will continue trying after the short break.
The Upside, your afternoons just got even better.
Bantu Biko Street by Simpiwe Dana. Ndi ready. Simpiwe, 20 years in song. So what emotions come up when you hear that, hey, you've been doing this for 20 years now?
It almost feels like no time has passed, eh? I just, I know obviously time has passed, but I don't feel it. Even about my age, I'm 45. I always get shocked when I think, oh my God, in 5 years' time, I'll be 50. Because for me as an artist, it's almost like when you come to certain things, time stands still. And as a result, you find that a lot of artists are very childlike, which, it helps them to always have a fresh approach to issues.
I tell you what, I'm feeling healed just by that.
We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the Upside.
Este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África, com Remo Samo e João Yabalá.
O surto da cólera em Angola tem causado grande preocupação, afetando já mais de metade das províncias do país. Simultaneamente, a Agência dos Estados Unidos para o Desenvolvimento Internacional, USAID, um dos maiores doadores mundiais de assistência humanitária, decidiu não priorizar os países com maior incidência de malária. Para discutirmos as causas do alastramento da cólera em Angola e os impactos dessa decisão da USAID, convidamos o Dr. Jeremias Agostinho, médico e mestre em saúde pública, para partilhar a sua visão sobre o tema.
A doença, nesse momento, representa o maior risco de saúde pública que nós temos. Nos últimos anos, a nossa preocupação esteve sempre centrado com os casos de malária, os casos de tuberculose e também de infecção por VIH-Sida. A forma como, em pouco menos de 2 meses, os casos de cólera vêm aumentando, acaba por representar, nessa altura, um dos maiores desafios que o país tem. É expectável que, nesta fase, o número de casos venha a aumentar.
De segunda a sexta-feira, das 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África.
Where champions rise and legends are made. Join Neto Chemane on Africa at Play, only on Channel Africa.
16:40 Central African Time. The clock is telling a story that we've got to say goodbye at one stage. But worry not, because when we say goodbye, we are opening up doors for another awesome voice coming your way. That is Jolene Nsungu coming up with Mix Vibration. Bonjour.
Bonjour Neto, eh bien Mix Vibration va commencer à 17h comme d'habitude. Nous aurons une panoplie de musique africaine, le folklore, le R&B, le rap, toute la musique africaine. Et non seulement ça, nous aurons une invitée profitant de la semaine des Mandela pour célébrer et aussi parler de violences basées sur le genre sur Mix Vibration de ce dimanche. Merci.
Merci. 16:41 Central African Time. You can look forward to an exciting Mixed Vibration edition coming your way as soon as Africa at Play says goodbye. It is that time where I now welcome Andisiwe Fagimaluzabona Mali, my producer, to the Producer's Corner to talk about the latest in the world of sport with the major focus on the African continent. Andi Mali, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Good afternoon, Neto. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners across the continent and across the globe.
Exciting indeed. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get on to it, talking about boxing. Hey, what a sport.
Well,
if the punches are heavy, you end up surrendering.
Well. It was a busy weekend, Neto. We had fights from different venues, both in the continent and outside. But the interesting ones were happening in America. There was also a big fight in the UK. I think you touched based on that on the sports news. But it's worth going back there, because one of our own continent someone who was representing the continent, things didn't go their way yesterday. We're talking about Phumelela, the Truth Kafu. We spoke to him on the show as well before he departed for America. He was fighting in Texas, That fight ended very sadly for him. He went there with one of the belts, and the opponent that he was fighting had two belts. So they put the belts together to say the winner takes all. So it was not to be for him, because he was defeated in the 10th round. It was not to be for him. But hopefully that this boy will recover from this, Neto, because he's still very young, The future is still bright for him. So we're hoping that he will come back. He lost his WBO belt to Jesse Rodriguez, known as Bam. And then yesterday we did hear some bums. The commentator calling it the money shot, That was it for Phumelela. A sad ending, and because everyone was behind him, he did a lot of media campaign as well before going there, being the one of the few legitimate champions in the continent, being young, and you could hear the energy. He didn't want to say, if I beat this boxer, I will beat this boxer. When I beat this boxer, but things didn't go his way, And I will also try and reach out to also maybe have him to do a post-mortem of that fight, to have him on the show to hear what went wrong, and also just to show support for our boxers. I mean, he didn't do it for himself and his family. He was doing it for the country and the continent. So I think we also need to do the follow-up stories, whether they come the way that they were supposed to be in terms of the boxer winning or when the boxer lose. We also need to follow up, So I feel like it's also our responsibility as the media now to do a follow-up, go to the airport when he arrives, have those quick flash interviews with him on the way forward. Obviously, they will need some time to recoup and relook their contracts, because some contracts have a rematch clause, especially when it's a big fight like this, And even if his contract doesn't have a rematch clause, these boxers can meet along the way. If he can probably win his 3 or 4 next fights, he probably challenge the same boxer if there's no rematch clause or that boxer is not interested. Because here we're not just talking about any other boxer, we're talking about talented boxers, Neto, on top of their game, world-class boxers. So it's not easy sometimes for even the winning boxer to say, let's do it again, because you know that you might lose, because it's only just that one punch. And unfortunately, the son of the soil, son of the African soil, Phumelela Kafu, was not his day yesterday.
That's the nature of sport. You win some, you lose some. It's just unfortunate that with a big campaign that he had heading to Texas, one would have expected a positive result, but it is the nature of the game. If you have just joined us, we are talking to my producer, Andisi Wefagemalu Mali, and this is the Producer's Corner as we reflect to big stories on the African continent and globally. It was a big rugby day yesterday. The Elite League, the Springboks beating Georgia by 55-10. They've not lost a single match ever since this new international season has started. They've beat the Azuri on back-to-back occasion, with the second one being the 30 years anniversary celebration for the Boks victory since their 1995 Rugby World Cup victory. But we've also seen the junior Boks showing the world that not only the senior Boks can beat the All Blacks, they can also beat New Zealand, winning the Under-20 World Rugby Championship by 23-15.
Well, it was a big one, Neto, obviously, especially for those who follow the sports. You know, it's an interesting sport. There's a point I want to raise, but I don't want to derail from your point. But yeah, for the Springboks, played very well, Neto, dominated the game, you know, and it's nice to see how this is working in terms of the depth of the team, despite the coach being experimental in terms of the changes, because this team is not the same team that played in a match before. That played the Barbarians, you know. The team that played the Barbarians is not the same team that played Italy. He makes like 11 changes in the team and they still win, you know. So it's interesting to see the young players taking their opportunities, you know, because the coach made it clear that he's building for 2027. And now we're almost moving away from the half mark of 2025. So, and time flies, Neto, you know, especially with the talent, you know, you need to have a big pool of players, because some players can have injuries along the way, so you need to have backup. So Coach Rasi did play his dice very well in terms of giving everyone a chance. But I guess that game inspired the junior Boks that were playing in the evening at 8:30 in Italy. We share the same time zone with Italy. So it started in the evening. The boys went all out, Neto, breaking a 13-year period that they haven't, you know, really won anything at that level. So it was nice to see the junior Boks. Also, what was interesting for me while I was watching the game, I was sitting with some other journalists, you know, talking about how this player, the captain of the team, you know, was a cricket player playing at the World Cup last year, but this year he's captaining the rugby team at another World Cup, you know. So it just showed the versatility and how these players are very, very, very talented, having to play a Cricket World Cup and then the next year you are in the final and actually lifting a Rugby World Cup, which are two different sporting codes with two different rules, different. It's just that it's played on the pitch, but the other one is played on the crease, you know. But this one is just play on the grass. So it's interesting how it turns out. But yeah, a big one for both the Springbok teams. It was also nice to have the president on the show of the South African Rugby Union, because this is the guy who was steering the ship. You know, when everything goes wrong, we look at the leadership. You know, just like how things in football are not going quite well, and the leadership probably is the problem now, because they are the ones who make sure that the important decisions are being made. So for the South African Rugby Union, they've done very well, you know. I mean, the team is very healthy, you know, two-time world champions, defending champions, they haven't lost, as you said earlier on. So it's quite an interesting one. It's quite an interesting time to be alive as well.
That's the voice of DC Wefagemalu Mali, my producer, and we are going through the Producer's Corner, looking at the exciting African stories. Banyana are through to the semi-finals of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. They will take on their old rivals, the Green and White of Nigeria, the Super Falcons, and we also have the Black Queens of Ghana up against the host nation, the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco. It looks like if Banyana wins and the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco wins, you could have the repeat of the last edition of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2022, where Morocco played Banyana in the final. But hey, the Super Falcons are too much on fire to stop. Will Banyana make it?
Well, I wish you could ask Tony Ubani this question, because you also need to hear from both sides, But yeah, it will be an interesting one, Neto, because we've seen that. When these teams are playing together, Nigeria at home, they always, they dominate out of 5 games or 6 games that they have played, they have won 3 of those games or 4 of those games, drawing 1 and losing 1. But when you look to South Africa also, having to play away, it's also, not quite good because they drew against Tanzania in the very same competition, and we know that in June they only managed to win against Benin, but before that they lost to Jamaica when they were playing away, 2 games to Jamaica. They also lost to Zambia, in the COSAFA Cup. So it's going to be quite interesting, but I'm sure Coach Desiree Ellis is very hungry to make sure that they make a success. Also the players on the field, but also on the side of Nigeria, I don't think they will come there, Neto, to lose a game. They will come there to fight and win, but hopefully that football will prevail, and the best team will win, because it won't be easy for both teams, because Nigeria is also trying to claim their place, as the champions of the continent when it comes to women's football. So it will be a difficult one, and I won't be biased because I'm based in South Africa and say Banyana will have it easy against Nigeria. No, it will be a very tough encounter, and may the best team win between them.
Before I let you go, your parting shot, what have you witnessed? There's also the conclusion of the Confederation of African Athletics Under-18, Under-20 Youth Championships taking place at the Ogun State in Abeokuta, Nigeria.
Very interesting one, Neto. It would have been lovely as well to talk to the guys there, but seemingly we're having network connections that are not fit for on air, But it's a very interesting one. We'll see how it comes out, Neto. We've seen the young people, because these are the future athletes, these are the future Olympians, I've been following it precisely. I'm impressed by countries like Botswana and how they have been represented. Obviously, South Africa was also dominant, collecting a few gold medals there, It's also interesting for them, to see how they are keeping up the level. But North African countries are the countries to watch for, following the progress and how things went, I've been impressed by how they perform at this level and how much enthusiasm from the athletes as well.
16:52 Central African Time. That's how we wrap up our Producer's Corner with Andisiwe Fakimalo Zobona Mali, my producer, as we were reflecting on the big African stories that were taking place this weekend and upcoming events. Mali, thank you so much for talking to me on Africa at Play. Before I let you go, any burning issues under African sport that we need to throw an eye to?
Well, Neto, thank you very much. There are many things that we are looking forward to, but the main thing now is the preseason, Neto. Our listeners need to be careful of the rumors when it comes to this, and also to those who do report on these transfer news, we really, really need to be cautious. If you are not sure, just say as reported, because some people will, take decisions now based on what is being reported. So, but for me, it's what is burning. We're looking forward. I mean, you also touched based on the interesting one in your sports news in terms of the international ones. Marcus Rashford going to Barcelona. I was very shocked to hear that, but the deal is yet to be sealed. So also in the African continent, we've seen some players moving from country to country, quite a number from here, South Africa, but also seeing players from North Africa coming, because I've also came across a report that Khanyiso Mayo signed with the Kaizer Chiefs now, coming from a North African team, So we've seen a movement of players. It's what I will be following in the week to come, and also just looking at the WAFCON as well, because it's getting interesting now. So yeah, those are the pending issues that people might also look forward to in terms of this coming week.
Thank you to Andisiwe Fakimalu Zobanamali for joining me for the Producer's Corner, 16:55 Central African Time. Thank you for joining us on Africa at Play, and thank you to our audiovisual streaming team, Sir Jabu Mnyakeni, and our social media guru, Dumisilema, together with our technical operator, Didimalo Tito Fabulous Makau, and my producer, Andisiwe Fakimalu Zobanamali. And from the rest of the Africa at Play team, thank you for listening. My name is Neto, Neto Chemane. Hosiati Konyangazi Mumkajwa phandle kunjani moyani voko tendele. Africa at Play asdeleli siyashaya. In Portuguese they say estamos juntos, which means we are together. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
And advertisers. Channel